Umuagu was a small village, quiet and peaceful, hidden in the hills of Okine Kingdom. A place known for its fertile lands, peaceful people, and its dark secret. The people there live simple lives, farming, fetching water, and sitting together in the evening to gist. Everybody knew everybody in Umuagu, and news travels fast. If something happens to one person by the next morning, the whole village will hear about it. But for years, fear has settled over the village. For decades, every first son born into Umuagu met a mysterious death before his 35th birthday. It never happened in the same way. Some drowned, some vanished, others dropped dead in their sleep with no sign of illness. But one thing was constant. They were all first sons. The villagers spoke in hushed tones, never daring to question aloud. The elders always said, "What we don't talk about can't harm us." But harm them it did, over and over. No one could explain it, and nobody talked about it. If you asked, the elders would just shake their heads and say, "It's not something we talk about. It has always been like that." Then came Obinna, the first son of his family. He grew up in Umuagu, but moved to Lagos, where he worked as a university lecturer. He was smart, kind, and full of life. Everyone believed he would escape the village curse. He got married to a beautiful and intelligent woman named Amaka. They were happy. Life seemed perfect. Until one morning, Obinna was found dead in his office. He wasn't sick. He wasn't hurt. He just sat there, eyes wide open, and in his hand there was a black feather. Amaka was in shock. She cried for days. But deep inside her, something didn't feel right. She believed someone or something had killed her husband, and she made up her mind to find the truth. After his funeral in Umuagu, she left Lagos and moved into his old family house in the village. It was dusty and quiet. Everything inside looked like it hadn't been touched in years. The villagers welcomed her politely, but she noticed something strange. People acted differently around her. The women stared at her with pity. The elders avoided her, and the village priestess, an old woman called Mama Abasha, whispered to her, "You are not safe here, Amaka. Let the dead rest. Go back to Lagos and don't come back here again." But Amaka refused to give up. She chooses to stay to find the cause of her husband's death. Then strange things started happening in the house. Every night at 2:13 a.m., she heard 3 knocks on her front door. When she opened it, no one was there. She began to hear soft whispers in the walls, like voices calling her name. She woke up one morning and found a black feather on her pillow, the same as the one found in Obinna's hand. Amaka was scared, but she kept looking for answers. She spoke to old women in the village. She visited the shrine of Umuagu to seek for answers, but she couldn't find any. One day, while sweeping the house, she found an old box with old papers in it, notes written by Obinna before he moved to Lagos. He had been researching something about the village, something about an old family story, a bloodline secret, and a promise made long ago. Amaka also found an old drawing of a strange tree, a crying woman, and a boy with no shadow. It didn't make sense, but Obinna had written beside it, "The truth is in our blood." More and more, she realized that this was not a simple death. This was not a normal village. And this curse, if it was a curse, started long ago, before Obinna was born. But she didn't know someone was watching her. Someone in the village didn't want her to find the truth. And the day she found it, she will either break the curse or become the next victim. Amaka couldn't sleep. The knocking at 2:13 a.m., the feather on her pillow, and the whispers in the walls were enough to scare anyone, but what troubled her most was how suddenly her husband had died. There was no sign, no illness, no goodbye. She decided to go from house to house in the village to speak to other families who had lost their first sons. Maybe someone had noticed something. Maybe there was a pattern. So, one hot Monday morning, she wore her scarf, tied her wrapper tightly, and began her journey. 11. The first home she visited was Mama Njideka's. Her son Ikena had died 3 years ago, healthy and strong, just collapsed on his way to the farm. He just fell down, Mama Njideka said, her voice low. Right there on the path, he was carrying his hoe. By the time they rushed him home, he was gone. Amaka leaned in. What time did it happen, Mama? She asked. Mama Njideka thought for a moment. Just before lunch. I remember because I had just finished pounding yam. When they brought him in, the village clock rang. It was 12 o'clock. 11. Next, Amaka went to the home of Elder Cheek, whose first son, Tokvu, had died in 2016. He was sitting outside under that mango tree, Elder Cheek said, pointing with a shaky hand. Then he just held his chest and fell, dead. Amaka asked the same question. What time? The old man nodded slowly. Exactly noon. The sun was directly above us, I remember. 11. House after house, mother after mother, father after father, every single first son had died at the same time, 12 noon. Not morning, not night, always in the middle of the day, under the bright burning sun. Amaka sat under a tree behind Obinna's house that evening, confused and scared. I thought evil things happened in the dark, she whispered to herself. But here, it's happening in the light. She flipped through Obinna's old notebook again. That's when she noticed a line she hadn't paid attention to before. Midday is when shadows are lost. Nothing hides, nothing runs. The curse comes when no one suspects it. That night, she couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep, because now she knew the deaths were not random. They were planned. Something or someone was watching the sun. And if the deaths always happened at 12 noon, then the key to stopping them wasn't in the night. It was in the daylight, when everyone thought they were safe. But why the first sons? What happened years ago in Umuagu that started this strange punishment? Who was behind it? Amaka didn't know yet, but she was ready to find out. Even if it meant risking her own life. The next morning, Amaka woke up before sunrise. She hadn't slept well. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Obinna sitting at his office desk, his eyes wide open, the black feather in his hand. She got up, washed her face, and went to the backyard to think. The village was quiet. Only the birds were singing. Suddenly, an old woman passed by the fence. She stopped, looked at Amaka, and said, "You want to know the truth, but the truth is not looking for you." Before Amaka could ask what she meant, the woman walked away quickly, disappearing behind the bushes. That same day, Amaka decided to visit Mama Uduak, the village priestess. Her shrine was on the edge of the forest, surrounded by tall trees and red cloths hanging from sticks. When Amaka entered, the priestess did not look up. She was pounding something in a clay bowl. "I know why you've come," Mama Uduak said, her voice dry like sand. "But be careful. The deeper you go, the harder it will be to come out." "I don't care," Amaka replied, shaking. "I just want to know what killed my husband." Mama Uduak paused, then pointed to a small stool. Amaka sat down. "The curse of the first sons is old, older than even I am. It started because of betrayal and blood," the priestess said. "Whose betrayal?" Amaka asked quickly. Mama Uduak looked at her with one eye, the other was white and blind. "There was once a man," she said slowly. "He was a first son. He broke a sacred promise. Because of his actions, the gods placed a punishment on every first son that would come after him. At midday, the hour of truth, the gods return for what is theirs." "Who was this man?" Amaka whispered. Mama Uduak shook her head. "No one dares speak his name anymore. But if you truly want answers, go and find the man with the blind eye who lives near the old river path. He knows more. But be warned, not everything he says is true, and not everything he hides is a lie." Later that day, Amaka asked some children to show her the river path. They pointed toward a narrow, overgrown trail behind the school, near the edge of the village. "Don't go alone," one of the girls said. "That place is not good." But Amaka went anyway. After 30 minutes of walking, she saw a small mud house with palm fronds on the roof. A man was sitting outside, chewing bitter cola. He had only one good eye. The other was completely white, just like the priestess's. "Are you the one they call Okeke?" Amaka asked. The man smiled, showing brown teeth. "They sent you here," he said. "Of course they did. They always send the curious ones." "I want to know why the first sons are dying," Amaka said firmly. "I want to know why my husband is dead." Old Okeke stood slowly, then pointed toward the forest. "Because someone made a deal long ago," he said. "And every midday the price must be paid. Your husband was just the next name on the list." "What deal?" Amaka asked. "Who made it?" Okeke looked at her with his good eye and said one word. "Your husband's grandfather." Amaka froze. "What?" "Yes," the old man continued. "Obinna's grandfather made a promise to protect the village during the war. He asked for help not from man, but from something else. In return, he offered the blood of his firstborn sons. He thought the debt had ended with him, but the spirits never forget." Amaka stepped back, heart pounding. She had never even met Obinna's grandfather. He died long before she married into the family, but now it seemed like the curse had started with him. Amaka couldn't get Okeke's words out of her head. "The next death is coming soon. Obinna's grandfather made the deal." She left the old man's compound feeling heavy, but something didn't sit right in her spirit. Something about his story felt too rehearsed. As days passed, Amaka kept asking more questions around the village. She read Obinna's old notes again. She even found a hidden diary in his old box. It was a journal Obinna had started just before his death. In it, he had written, "I've been watching him. The blind man, he's always at the graveyard, always there before someone dies. Even during Papa's burial, he came too close. He knows something he's not saying. This gave Amaka chills. Why would Obinna write that? She remembered something strange. Every family she visited had said Okeke was always there after their son died, either visiting to pay respect or walking past their compound, not long before it happened. Some even said he came with gifts: cola nut, bitter leaf, a feather, just like the one found in Obinna's hand. Amaka decided to visit Mama Uduak again. She told the priestess everything: the feather, the journal, the strange visits by Okeke. The old woman went quiet. Then she said something that shocked Amaka. That man was once a powerful dibia, a native doctor. He was banished many years ago for trying to control the spirits of the ancestors. What? Amaka gasped. Mama Uduak nodded slowly. He tried to create a charm that would make him the only voice the spirits listened to, but the ritual failed. It left him blind in one eye. After he was banished, the deaths of the first sons began, but no one connected it to him. Amaka's heart began to race. What if there was no curse? What if Okeke was using the story of the curse to hide his own evil? That night, Amaka decided to go back to Okeke's hut, but not to talk. She waited until midnight. Then, quietly, she snuck behind the hut and entered through the back. The house was small, filled with dried herbs, feathers, black candles, and calabashes. As she searched the room with a torchlight, she stepped on something. A loose wooden plank. She pulled it up, and there it was. A hidden box, tied with red thread and sealed with black cloth. Inside were pieces of hair, labelled with names. Obinna was one of them. Tiny clay figures, shaped like men, all broken in the chest area. Feathers, so many black feathers. A list of names with years next to them. Each name belonged to a first son who had died. The next name on the list was already written, but not yet crossed out. Amaka's hands shook. This was no ordinary shrine. This was a death altar. Okeke wasn't just an old blind man. He was a killer hiding under the cover of tradition. The next morning, Amaka didn't run. She didn't cry. She went straight to the village square. When the elders gathered, she stood before them and shouted, "The curse is a lie. It was never the spirits. It was Okeke." The villagers gasped. Some laughed nervously. Others told her to keep quiet. But Amaka held up the items from Okeke's house, the clay figures, the hair, the list. She read out the names. Then she held up Obinna's journal and read the line about Okeke being near the graveyard. The elders began to murmur. Just then, Mama Uduak stepped forward. "I too have suspected him for years," she said, "but I had no proof. Now the truth is here." When they brought Okeke before the elders, he didn't beg. He didn't cry. He smiled. "I did it," he said. "Why?" someone asked. He looked around, then said, "Because they forgot me. I served this village for years as a dibia, but they threw me out like a dog. They said I was wicked, so I showed them what true wickedness looks like. They took my power, so I took their first sons." Amaka's knees grew weak. Her heart broke all over again. Obinna's death was not spiritual. It was not destiny. It was murder by someone hiding in plain sight. But one question remained. How did Okeke choose who died next? And why did the deaths always happen at exactly 12 noon? Okeke just laughed and said, "That secret dies with me."